Hi, everyone. Welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. I have an amazing special guest today. I'm really excited to have her here. Her name is Kathy Beal. She does have a YouTube channel called Professional Aquarian. Now, she also has a whole bunch of other places and areas that you can find her. So I encourage you to zip on over to um, her YouTube channel, and then you can find all the other stuff. Because you know me, I get names wrong, I screw everything up. So I'm just going to send you where it'll be right. Kathy Beal, thank you so much for being here. Before, I just want to tell you how I found her. In one of my videos recently, I said, for God's sakes, is there not an astrologer out there who will just tell me what everything means and what the impact is? I don't care about squares and whatever because I don't understand them. I want to know, you know, what that means. Like, and she reached out to me and she said, "Here, listen to this." And it was a video about Trump. It was so clear and so concise. I was like, "Okay, I need to have you come visit me." So, and I warned Kathy that this was going to be my very first question, but I think it's an important one because she's going to help bring everybody off the ledge. Okay, so this was my question. Kathy, when what kind of astrological horseshoe does Trump have up his ass, and when does it fall out?
All right. We can look at the planet that brings good fortune and expands everything. Jupiter. Jupiter is in Libra in his chart, which is the sign of deals and connections. And it's in his second house of personal resources, talents, abilities. He's also got Neptune, which is the cosmic fog machine, in that house as well, meaning that's his con man grifter stuff. At any rate, so Jupiter in Libra means he makes very beneficial deals. He has beneficial, and not necessarily monetarily beneficial, but he has allegiances. He makes them, and it's in an unbroken link, which is called a trine. There's nothing interfering with it, to the planet that makes him rogue, that makes him a disruptor, that makes him say outlandish things always. That's the planet Uranus, and it's in the most public part of his chart. So I would say that not only does he have this natural good fortune in the house of money, but he also has an ability to stir things up for other people to make sure he gets a good deal out of it. Now, when the horseshoe falls out is, here we go. There's a planet that is the planet of adulting. This is Saturn. Saturn's the god of timing, the lord of karma, responsibility. Saturn is in the sign of Pisces, traveling through territory. It was last in from 94 to 96. The last time Saturn was in Pisces, all of Trump's casinos went bankrupt. Do not forget that. Saturn in Pisces is a marker for him losing his shirt financially. You can look at the fraud judgment. You can look, anyway, won't get too far off course here. Saturn is in his house of alliances, partners, and open enemy. So the government is essentially his open enemy right now. Saturn is closing in on a very challenging, unpleasant, forceful relationship with his disruptor planet, with Uranus, which is going to be exact on August 20th. And when this happens, Jupiter in the sky, which makes everything bigger, is going to be on top of his disruptor rogue actor planet. So this is like a giant vise coming into place, like his saying awful things, hitting critical mass, getting louder and louder and louder, and something coming that clamps down on it. And when this happens, that Saturn, that let's be adults about this, let's have some accountability. Influence is in an adjustment aspect with the lucky end of his horseshoe down in the
And
first.
how long does that last? How long does that impact last?
It's building all summer,
Okay.
and we'll be feeling it as soon as Saturn hits that degree, which is going to be before August 20th. Saturn's on its way there, so you can like hear the theme from Jaws already playing in the background, and the Saturn end of it becomes exact. Looks like it's the 12th of August, and then Jupiter moves in. So between the 12th and the 20th, the noise level ought to get incredibly high, and then something just closes in on it. Bam. Um, we discussed this off camera. At the same time, things are heating up for Jack Smith. This is also active in Alito's chart in a huge way. It's also, I think, in Chutkin's. I haven't looked at her chart in quite a while, but I think there's something there as well. So something big having to do with answering for uh, disruptive stuff he did or rule breaking that he engaged in will come to a head then. Now, there are many other things going on. This is not the only gotcha. But and so anyone who is, thinking, oh my God, please look at 1995. I would say 94 is, I think, when when the casino bankruptcies happened. So research what happened to him that went wrong the wrong way in 95, and this is going to be times 1,000.
Well, that's like amazingly good news. I like
I
that.
think,
Because
yeah.
I think honestly, this sort of Teflon thing that he's had going on, um, it's just become sort of aggravating, right? It's just kind of like, how long can this go on? So I'm really glad to know that there's an end date. What else can you tell us about what's going on with Trump's chart from now until, I don't know, after the election sometimes?
Well, there are a couple of really important things to know. And first off, one final comment on what you were just talking about is it's not just luck, it's what he does to people to ensure he can get off. So it's not just him, and there are others that benefit. And anybody who has not researched or read about an attorney named Ray Cohn, Cohn, please do, because he taught a lot of what we are watching going on. So other things that
Excellent.
are important to know. Uranus in the sky has moved across, has completely destabilized Trump's place in the world. This is a once in your lifetime event, not like the one I mentioned. And so it's got this wrecking ball impact that has hit the up and down middle line in his chart. If you look at a chart, see it goes straight through it, which is the axis, the angle that deals with where you are, like what your roots are, what your home is, what your place in the world is, what your career is. So all those things get blasted when Uranus walks over it. When this happened in my chart, in the span of 2 months, I lost my entire support system. My best friend moved out of the country. First two marriages happened in my generation in the family. I got an adjunct professorship. I was told to leave my apartment because my landlord needed it for a divorce. And as soon as I found my new place, I got fired from my job. And a week later, the guy I was dating thought it was ridiculous. I was still upset from being fired. So everything cleaned out. And Trump has that in the sign having to do with money. And there are two important things to know about this. One of them is Mars, which is a triggering influence. When Mars comes into a sensitive spot or makes a really tight aspect with a volatile planet like Uranus, things happens. Mars on the 15th of July, when the RNC convention is starting, Mars is going to be on top of that Uranus in Trump's public health. Chaos house. Chaos will ensue. In August, after that aspect becomes exact with Saturn and Uranus that I mentioned. So after the legal Iron Maiden closes in on him, there is a full moon exactly at that exactly triggers this degree where the Uranus thing happens. It's on his I'm getting too technical here. Relationships blow up for him at that point. Okay. And the most volatile point that Uranus wrecking ball is monkey in the middle of the full moon, and his Mars, which is what pushes him out, the marker for all the anger that he has, is also part of this equation. So we have July 15, really volatile, very chaotic, does not matter. Calm down, everyone. Does not matter that the Manhattan prosecution sentencing isn't going to happen on the 11th. It'll probably happen later in July. The prosecution has agreed to 2 weeks. So that blowing up is there regardless. You can look at this as somebody hitting an ejector button. I am not predicting he will be thrown off the ticket, but it's not going to be an easy time for him. Then we have August, the last third of August being very explosive. And then on election day, the other agent of cosmic change. Uranus is volatile, unpredictable change. Pluto is unavoidable change. Using an arcane forecasting technique called converse solar arc. I won't explain it, but just know that his converse solar arc Pluto moves across, sits on the same spot that Uranus has blown up. So both of the cosmic change agents coming from 2 different directions, one from the past, one into the future, are blowing up his place in the world. And it will be at peak on election day. There is no way he is going back to any place he has lived before after this. I mean the White House, but any place.
Yeah, I was wondering if that bodes well for him, like if he's still around, like leaving the country.
It could. It very well could.
All right.
Very well could. One other thing I want to throw in. His birthday chart. You can run a chart for when the sun returns to the spot that it occupied when you were born. It's called a solar return. Solar for sun, return for returning to that spot. When I look at his solar return chart, I got to find it. I got like 50 zillion charts. Yeah. It's got this very noticeable emphasis on not being out in the world. Not being out in the world. And this is birthday to birthday, okay? So of self-undoing, of his mouth just shooting off and really causing his own problems, but most importantly, not freely moving in the world. So
liking that one.
And the way you can look at this is for anybody who understands anything about astrology, there is a concentration of bodies in the 12th house, which is the house of institutions, could be hospitalization, could be house arrest, could be, which is possible because there are other things here showing he's not going anywhere. This is not returning to the White House. It is not returning to the White House. And it's also like not, oh, how do you even put this? There is, I just noticed this, how to put this. The planet of consequences is at the very top of his chart, very public consequences as a marker for this year in his life. And the planet that rules the house of confinement is in the house of confinement, and the planet that rules where he lives is in the house of confinement. It doesn't look good to me. So again, this is not, no, this is not, I'm gonna be king of the world. I don't care what 6 men and 5 men and 1 woman in robes might have said. This is not, I'm king of the world or anything else.
That should be comforting to all of us. I think that, recognizing that there are sort of endings coming for him that really do feel like they've been a long time coming. So we're all super grateful for that. Now, the next thing I asked Kathy to take a look at was Biden's chart, because I just want to see how he's going to be doing over the next several months, and where his chart is taking him as we move forward.
I have 7 big points that I have written out for you. First one is that Saturn, which is a slowing influence, is sitting at the bottom of his chart. That is not going anywhere, but it also means he will be paying an awful lot of attention to his base, and it's moving in and out of his house of communication. And we know he's been misinterpreted for a long time. He also has a predilection for gaffes, and he does have a problem with speaking.
Yeah.
Secondly, we haven't talked much about, we will talk more about Pluto, but let me just say that Pluto, where it currently is in its new energy of Aquarius, which is changing power dynamics from top heavy to more collective, it's in a really hard relationship with his moon, his emotional driver, in the part of his chart that deals with children and self-expression. And it's been there, it's going to back off a bit, and it'll go back there again in the middle of November. I don't know what this means about what will happen with his son. We'll see, but SUN, but anyway, so it's not been an easy time for him emotionally, but this man has a preponderance of fixed energy. So he has the moon, his emotional driver, at the very beginning of the sign of Taurus, which is, I am here and I'm not going anywhere. He stays in things, just stays there. Salt of the earth, really reliable, and there's follow through that is part of it. And he's got a preponderance of planets in Scorpio in the hiddenmost part of his chart. And I repeatedly say, I would never bet against a Scorpio in a cage match. And he does it, he has these abilities in ways that other people do not see coming. So I encourage people not to underestimate his survivor faculties, and also the fact that he's aware of what is going on, whether you can see that he knows it or not. The perceptiveness is incredible. Okay, next thing, middle of July could be a very uncomfortable time for him, because when Mars hits Uranus and blows things up for Trump, creates chaos at the Republican National Convention, this also sets off all kinds of stuff in Biden's chart, but it's more of a, instead of blowing things up, it's a being in the middle of a really uncomfortable situation and not going anywhere. I will say this like 5 times. There are repeated indicators of not going anywhere in Biden's chart. So those of, anyone who's freaking out, please. And in 3 months or so, when I look at his he's got things that just kind of like in about 3 months he'll be sailing, I guess is a good way of putting it. All right. He'll be emotionally sailing. You'll be seeing more than bouncing back. In August, when that really harsh, what for Trump is going to be the legal Iron Maiden closing in, for Biden, there could be some long-standing communication or messaging issues that come up again. He could simply be tired and have the stutter show back up. But there is a sense of there are things here showing that he does take, he is a man who really does believe his faith, and it is part of what fuels him. And some of that will come around again in September. Also, his wife is a huge source of strength and energy and fuel for him. When we get to November, his birthday chart, his solar return chart, has his moon, his emotional driver, conjunct the United States sun. So he already in his birth chart, he's got a link to the United States moon, which is a marker you look for. A lot of people who go into the presidency have an astrological connection to the people of the United States. In his solar return chart, his birthday is November 20th. So, and it'll be in effect on election day. It kicks in a couple of months in advance. So his emotional driver for the year will be nurturing and caring for the identity of the United States. That's in his chart. Trump doesn't have this.
Nice.
Uh,
Nice.
More importantly, his solar return chart has Mars, planet of push, cosmic action hero, on the doorway to his career house in the sign of Leo. I saw that and went, oh, do not worry about this, man. This is on fire. I'm going to go kick people's teeth in. This is leadership. I am the leader. I am stepping up. I am doing this. And there is an element of divine guidance, like this being part of his mission. Think about it. If you're this age, wouldn't you rather just go? He's got a condo on the beach in Delaware. He could ride his bike. He could eat ice cream on the boardwalk in Rehoboth Beach. No, he's keeping the world from catching fire. And he's continuing to do it. So there's something else going on here. And his communication planet is in a really easy supportive aspect to his core wound. So the whole thing about the stutter and not being understood, it's like, and maybe this is his last gasp, I don't know, but the bloom is really bright. The energy is there. The fire is there. The fire is there. And his natal Mars, his natural way of how he pushes himself forward, is in sync with where Saturn is on his birthday. So that gives some sustainability, some staying power. And one other really arcane way of looking at things it brings an aspect that lights up his life path, which is connected with the U.S. people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not worried. I mean, we've got crap we're going through. I would not be complacent. I would get off your butts and do as much
as you can.
Organizing as you can, voting,
Yeah.
doing whatever. And I have an activity to recommend when we get to the end of this. But do not worry about him. All right. Do not worry about him. Trump's solar return chart is, I'm going to be put in the corner somewhere. Biden's solar return chart is, I am making things happen out in the world. Very different vibe.
Perfect. So the third thing I asked her to look at was Kamala Harris's chart, because she sort of is becoming a little bit more and more of a player, because there's sort of talk about, well, what happens if Biden, can't do the whole term. So I wanted Kathy to take a peek at that and see if she could give us some insight in terms of what's going on with your vice president.
Harris is being pushed into speaking out more, being very open about who she is and what she believes. There is an empowering aspect with where Pluto is right now, and that'll be back, just brackets. Pluto will return to the sign of Capricorn for 2.5 months, beginning of September to the middle of November, till November 18. And then it'll go back into Aquarius, and it will move on through until 2044. So decades. It's a very long time that we'll be dealing with this energy. So when it's at the very beginning of Aquarius, this is pressuring her to speak up, to speak out, to have her own voice more visible, and that will come back to the fore around US Thanksgiving and into the beginning of next year. The really explosive aspect on July 15 that's going to cause chaos for Trump and for the RNC is happening in the most hidden place in her chart, on top of her planet of expansion. So I would imagine that behind the scenes, all kinds of things will be breaking open and being put in place for her during that time. We may not see it at all. That really uncomfortable period around August 20th also directly hits her chart, and the wrong wait. Yeah. And it creates a tension of like being suspended and not like the Hanged Man. All right. It has a tension like the Hanged Man, and Biden's got the same tension like the Hanged Man, like things pulling you in different directions, getting a good view of something. And then once Saturn and Jupiter start moving apart, then the action comes. So don't, whatever weirdness may be happening late in August, freak not. Her birthday is in October, and her solar return chart has an aspect that's called a finger of God that's pointing right at where her sun is in the solar return chart. And okay, so her sun does not say this woman is going to be president in the next year. Okay, for those of you who are out there going, but it also doesn't indicate that she's going anywhere either. So for those of you who are saying, oh, she's going to be thrown off the ballot, I don't know. I just know that her solar return chart for next year has her heavily involved in policy making, in laws, and as vice president, she is the head of the Senate. But when I first looked at this, I thought, oh my God, this woman could be a judge. Now, I don't know. There is one prediction floating around that she'll be put on the Supreme Court, but regardless, she will be heavily involved in policy and in legislation during this year, which sounds very much like still having an office in the East Wing of the White House, you would
Absolutely.
think. And hold on. And she's got divinely guided action. She has something working with the man, working in a sort of like a spiritual bond, a cohesive, simpatico, I guess it's a better word, which is interesting because she and Biden have very different energies. But I do think they work together
Really well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had mentioned earlier that there was something in Biden's solar return chart that links, like his inner self is very protective of and has a parental linking, nurturing vibe with the US sun.
Right.
She's got her progressed moon is conjunct the US sun. So she also has a parental protective nurturing vibe at this point in her life towards the identity of the United States, the US as a nation, as a whole, as a people. They both have it in different ways, but the same kind of thing. It's not, I'm out for this for myself. It's not, how much money can I get out of this? It's, I'm
Yes.
doing something for the good of the country. I believe there truly is a sense, given the astrological links, the way that Neptune interacts with things in their charts. I really do think that they're operating on a level that is not just what's happening with the economy, but like what is the greater good. They have, the two of them, some really strong connections between their charts. She sees and can speak things in ways that he doesn't or can't. She is really she's a door opener for him, healing his relationship with like him turning his wounds into what he needs to do for all of the country. And she's also a door opener for him fulfilling his destiny. Her being on the ticket was probably a factor in his finally, he's run for president numerous times, finally getting it. Her Venus, which is her she's like the woman to do it for him. Her Venus is on the doorway to his career house. And her Saturn, which is a glue aspect, is on his south node. So they, if you're someone who believes in past lives, they knew each other, whether that's it or not. She's coming back from the past. She had a connection with his son. They were both secretaries of state. So she already had this pre-existing relationship with the family. Um, I mean, details can differ, strange things can happen, but the astrological influences are, yeah, my brain can be on the ledge with everybody else, and I can go absolutely batshit crazy over it. But I look at all this stuff and go, oh, I mean, as soon as I ran Biden's solar return chart, I went up, up.
All good.
You
It's
can
all
whatever
good.
noise whatever noise you want to make the noise. No, I'm not worried.
Okay, so I just have one more thing I wanted to take her impose upon Kathy to look at. So this whole Pluto into Aquarius, everybody's very excited about it because it's a much more inclusive and loving and generous energy than Capricorn, I think. Can you give me sort of the top three things or four things that we can look at, because it's such a long time it's going to be in Aquarius? What are some of the things that we maybe might expect within the next few years, a couple of years, as that energy sort of starts to, I don't know, take hold? How does that work?
There will be a battle between entrenched interests and little people banding together. That's one thing. All right. So a power distribution, the role of technology in our lives, where's power? Is it us? Is it, I encourage everybody to watch Battlestar Galactica, not the cheesy version with Lorne Green, sorry, the one with the really hot guys. It's a cautionary tale for what we're heading into. It's not all, oh, la, 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 we're going to be, because it's always useful to look at what happened previous times. And every time Pluto has changed signs, there has been a massive shift in the power and structure of whatever the biggest power institution was on the planet. Like the church has split and had things happen time and time again when Pluto has changed signs. When Pluto moved into Aquarius in the late 1700s, this coincided with the American Revolution, the French Revolution, blood in the streets. So sorry, friends, it wasn't all pretty. The toppling of the aristocracy in France, the development of the middle class. So addressing income inequality is a big piece, and there'll be something to do with that. Middle class didn't exist before the French Revolution, and the concept of democracy arose in 1789 was a really important year. So a lot of stuff happened in France at that time, but that's
Mhm.
also when the US Constitution was signed. So we can expect uh, changes in the location of power, fighting over who has the power, something to do with with extremes in income. I don't know how that will play out. Something to do with technology. The Industrial Revolution also coincided with the last time Pluto was in Aquarius.
Did not
And
know that. Okay.
communities coming together, people doing things, finding like-minded communities. And since we've got the internet now, there'll probably be all kinds of long distance community stuff going on,
Yeah.
bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, so the individual is empowered, but also groups of individuals are ultimately empowered. And don't think that those with all of the toys aren't going to take whatever action they can. I think we can point to some recent examples to try to stack the deck.
Yeah. Yeah. They're those dinosaurs definitely are not giving up their grip just yet. All right. So amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for all of your insights. Now, Kathy has a couple of things going on in her world. And one of them is a class that sounds really, really interesting. So I'm just going to ask Kathy to explain that. And if you could also kind of give my viewers some of the different places they can find you.
Okay, I am going to be talking through all of the justice charts for the Supreme Court. I've done this before. There are several of them that have really intense astrological things going on, and I have made already some pretty specific predictions as to timelines. So, given that the Supreme Court has decided it is the ultimate arbiter of everything, um, let's see whether this has staying power. I personally don't think it does. So I'm going to be going through all of their charts. It will be an interactive class. You do not have to be present. You can just, and you will get the recording. So, if you're someone that is sort of interested, you can just get it and sign up and get the recording. If I'm still judging interest, I think there will be enough. I will be announcing this in a variety of places. One of them is my YouTube channel, Professional Aquarian. Another is my website, empowermentunlimited.net, like safety net. And there and on my YouTube channel, I have forecasts short for every week, for every month, for every new moon, for every full moon. And my schedule, when there's something going on, is on my website as well. And that's where you can also, get a guided visualization to work with Pluto and book a session with me. I have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/Kathy Beal. Varying levels where I talk more about what's going on in terms of using it as navigation, using the astrological information for your own life to navigate stuff. I'm sure there are other things, but those are the high points right now. Oh, one other thing. This is not me. For those of you who are saying, "Oh my God, what can I do? What can I do?" I have a colleague who has been running a program called Grassroots of Democracy. And every Tuesday night, she leads a 20-minute visualization to heal democracy. You can get the recording. If you're not there, there is no cost. If you go to grassrootsofdemocracy.com, you will find a whole bunch of different actions you can take. But also, if you go down toward the bottom, there is a space for getting on the mailing list and getting the Zoom link. It is a disturbingly low group of people, low number. I think this is astonishingly important work. And when George W. Bush was first in office, I led visualizations on a monthly basis to try to, anyway, yeah. So I believe in this, and I think we can at least help calm things down. But we have many, many times sent energy to the Capitol, to various state houses where stuff's been going on. I suspect that we'll be spending a lot of time with SCOTUS.
Yeah, that's actually something we also did here on my channel.
Oh,
For the last election,
hmm.
or the last two, I think the last two. In any case, and that's something we're also going to be starting here, sort of more towards the end of summer. I cannot thank you enough for just making everything make sense and not confusing my head. I hope you have enjoyed your stay at Soulprint. I know my viewers are going to be trying to find you, and I absolutely know that they will completely enjoy this video. Thank you so, so very much for being here.
You're very, very welcome. Translating is one of the things I do.
Very well. Bye-bye now.